Hi guys, to use the Neoplasm table, I'm recording this little video to try to help you out. This coincides with the Chapter 7 lecture that we did today in the OT63 class. This video, of course, is intended for my 63 students working out of the Understanding ICD-10 CM and ICD-10 PCS, a work textbook by Bowie. If you flip to chapter 7, we'll work through the coding assignments together. I have been working out of the 2017 manual in class. I don't have the 2017 manual at home. I left it at my office, so I'm working out of the 2016 manual here at home. All right, so on page 118, I think, yes, 118, in your work your textbook, we will go through some of these so I can show you how this Neoplasm table works. So here's some things about the Neoplasm table, and when you're looking up codes. You can look up codes a couple of different ways, okay? So let me put the textbook over here first. Oh, sorry. There we go. Okay. So if you want to look up things, can you see? Here we go. If you want to look up things in the index first, you can. You can do it a couple of different ways. You can start in the index and then go to the Neoplasm table and then go to the tabular list, and that's cool. Or you can go to the Neoplasm table and then the tabular list, and that's cool. Or you can go index and then tabular list, and that's fine. One way or the other, you're going to end up verifying in the tabular list. So the question is, do you want to start in the index, or do you want to start in the Neoplasm table? So what I suggest that you do is to go through your coding assignments and if you're having difficulty figuring out where to start looking things up in the index or in the Neoplasm table, then you'll want a number. So the first thing to do is decide how you want to look these up. If you want to look all of them up in the index and skip messing with the Neoplasm table altogether, then you can do that, but you're going to number them one way. If you want to look them up in the Neoplasm table and then in the tabular list, then you're going to want to number them another way. So if you're looking them up in the index, you're going to look up the main diagnosis first. So in number 1, the main diagnosis would be carcinoma. So you would look up carcinoma first, and then mouth second. And then for number 2, you would have adenocarcinoma, and then of adrenocortical would be the second thing you would look up. So lipoma, I mean, you can only look up one thing for a one-sentence diagnosis there. Leiomyoma of the uterus, so that would be 1. Uterus would be 2. So here's the thing. If you were looking them up in the Neoplasm table, you can skip looking them up in the index and just go to the Neoplasm table. However, you look them up a little bit differently. So with a Neoplasm table, because the Neoplasm table is structured out using alphabetical order of body parts, structures, you would look up the structure first. So for example, number 1, you would look up mouth. For number 2, you would look up adrenal cortical. For number 3, you would just look up lipoma. For number 4, you would look up uterus and then look up the leiomyoma. For number 5, you would look up urinary bladder, so this would be 1, and then you would look up wall, and then you would look up anterior. Then you would look up the malignant neoplasm. So once you understand how to look these up and figure out which manner you want to look them up in, then it becomes much easier to use this Neoplasm table. Okay, so for number 6, I'm going to use the Neoplasm table because that's the kind of the point. Sorry, I keep moving this camera. I'm sorry. Of this video. So number 6, you're going to look up leukemia first in the Neoplasm table, then plasma cell. Lymphoma, intrapelvic lymph nodes. So we're going to look up lymph nodes. And then intrapelvic, and then B cell. promyelocytic leukemia, so we're going to look up leukemia, promyelocytic, and then acute. So you kind of get how that's going, okay? All right, so let me move this guy out of the way. And back over here to the Neoplasm table, okay? So we have, let me get this guy straightened out. I'm trying to keep it right in front of me so that it's not upside down and it's not really working out. All right, so carcinoma of the mouth. So you can do this, again, you can look up in the index if you want to, which will then refer you to the Neoplasm table, which will then refer you, because it needs a 5th digit, to your tabular lists, okay? So to save looking up in the index, let's go to the Neoplasm table and we're going to find mouth. So I'm going to look for mouth. Neoplasm, ligament. Oh man, when you get to skin, there's like crazy amounts of crap that can go wrong with your skin. Oh, mouth would be before skin, right? LM. Male genitalia. That's the skin of the male genitalia. Here's nerves, lots of nerves. Mouth, okay. It is actually over here. Let's see if I can make this a little bit clearer for you. So mouth, you have here, mouth. Oh, can you see? Okay, so C06.9, and then if you look up at the top, the malignant primary, follow that down to mouth, C06.9. Now, there is no 5th digit. It's like if you see here this little check mark in this one, you'll know that that's going to require like another digit. And there is no check mark here that tells you that this requires another digit, but it's a good idea just to make sure that that is the correct code by verifying it in the tabular list. So if I were you, I would write down C06.9 and then go to the tabular list and verify that. Also, if I were you, to keep from flipping back and forth, I would look them all up in the Neoplasm table first, and I would look them all up in the Neoplasm table first, and then write them down, and then go back and verify them all in the tabular list. So I'm not quite sure what happened to my video. I thought it was recording, and I looked up like 3 or 4 more codes, and it turns out it wasn't recording at all. So let me see where I was. Hang on. Okay, so for number 2, I would look number 2 up. I would start for number 2, I don't really know where adrenal cortical would be in the Neoplasm table, so I would look number 2 and number 3 up in the index. If you look number 2 up in the index, adrenal, you will look up adenocarcinoma. Again, this manual will probably look a little bit different than what you have because I am using last year's manual. So adenocarcinoma, abscess, adenoma, adenocarcinoma. Okay, so I found it over here on this page. Let's see if I can put it up here for you. So it is here, adrenal cortical, which is, let's see if you can see. Here you go, adrenal cortical, C74.0. So I wrote that down on my little paper. And I also put the little check mark to note that it's going to require a 5th digit, and that's notated here. So when I go to verify it in the tabular list, I'll know to look for that 5th digit. Lipoma, I would look that up in the index also because it doesn't give you a body part to reference in the Neoplasm table. And so let's look up lipoma. sorry, my dogs are barking. So here's your lipoma. It's D17.9. It doesn't give us a body part, so we're just going to go with lipoma. So I wrote down D17.9 to reference in the tabular list when we move on. And then for leiomyoma of the uterus, I looked that one up in the Neoplasm table. So let me straighten this camera back out. Flip back to the Neoplasm table. I need a better webcam, I'm telling you. Okay, so for this, I would look up the body part, because any place that you have a body part, you can look up in the Neoplasm table by the body part. So I'm going to go find uterus. Whoop, drug chemical table. Wrong table. Find uterus, which will be at the back. You want to look for your uterus, or the uterus, I guess. You may or may not have a uterus. Okay, so it is uterus. Let me move this up. So uterus C55 is what we're going to look up and reference in the tabular list for malignant primary of the uterus. So C55. Number 5 is neoplasm of the anterior wall of the urinary bladder, malignant. So let's look up bladder, urinary bladder. Bladder. Okay, so on this one, I found, I have to keep moving this. My webcam is like cheap and not very good. I have to buy a better one. Okay, so urinary bladder. Here is urinary bladder. It is wall that we're going to look up, and then anterior. So we're going to use C67.3. Can you see that? There we go. C67.3. So that is bladder, urinary, wall, anterior. And that is malignant primary. If you look up at the top, follow the row down, malignant primary, all the way down to the anterior wall. And that's C67.3. So I write that bad boy down. So 5C67.3. Okay, 6, leukemia plasma cell. So let's look up leukemia. I would look up leukemia in the index, because even though it tells you plasma cell, you might be able to, I don't know if it has plasma cell in the Neoplasm table. I just think it would be easier to look that one up in the index, because, I mean, you know, plasma cells can be just about anywhere. So let's look up leukemia. I don't know how to... Leukoplakia, leukemia. Okay, so we have leukemia. It's over on this page. And we have plasma cell. C90.1 with a check mark, which means we need to have extra digits, so I'm going to write that down. C90.1 check mark. And then there was another leukemia somewhere that I saw. Acute promyelocytic leukemia. So let's look that one up while we're here. That is number 8. So promyelocytic, and that is monocytic oh, I found it. It's over here. Okay, so it is actually on the previous page. Let me get this. Over here under acute. Oh, I just saw it. Acute promyelocytic, which is here. So C92.4. So 8 C92.4 with another digit. Okay, let's go back to 7. 7 is B-cell lymphoma. That one I would look up in the index. Let me try to find one where, okay, so let's look at number 9. 9 and 10, we'll look those up in the index so I can show you how to look those up in the index. We'll skip 7 for now. So neoplasm, so number 9, skin. So you're going to reference skin in the neoplasm table. And remember I said skin, there's a whole lot of things that can go wrong with the skin because it's such a large organ. So find skin, and then you're going to find the chin, secondary malignant neoplasm. Okay. Skin, so you look for skin, you start finding all the skin codes, and then find chin. Let me move this book over. And I don't know if you all can see, but it is, let me move this over some more. Chin is here. Here is skin, chin. Okay. And then to find out which one is the secondary, you go up to the top and follow your secondary column down to chin, which is going to take you to over and down is going to give you C79.2. So secondary malignant neoplasm of the skin of the chin for number 9 is going to give you C79.2. Okay? For number 10, carcinoma of uterine cervix. So carcinoma of uterine cervix. So let's go find our uterus again. We like that. And we have our uterus up top here. And we are looking for carcinoma on the cervix. Try to make that clear for you. Sorry about that. And it is not secondary, so it has to be malignant. So primary, right? Malignant carcinoma of uterine cervix. Okay, so you have uterus, then we have cervix, malignant primary. That gives us C53.9. So C53.9, write that down, and we'll verify that in the tabular list. Let's skip 11 because you can look that up. Look up bone and then orbital, and then it'll be malignant primary. For 12, let's look up that one because that's a carcinoma in situ. So let's go back to bladder. And then we'll start verifying these. So bladder, here we go. Okay, so bladder, and it is carcinoma in situ. So here's bladder, and then you follow it down from the carcinoma in situ, bladder, and that gives you D09.0. So then 12, D09.0. Okay, so now we've got a whole list of codes that we need to basically verify in all of these different, in the tabular list. Okay, so we've got all these different codes that we need to go and look up. So we'll go back to our tabular section. So I'm going to go back to my C's here. Again, my page numbers are not going to match up to yours, more than likely, because I am in the 2016 edition. So my first one for carcinoma of the mouth, alright, so C06.9 for carcinoma of the mouth. So C06.9, malignant neoplasm of the mouth, unspecified. Looks good to me. So C06.9 will work there. So that covers, C06.9 covers the malignant neoplasm of the mouth, unspecified. It also covers any malignant neoplasm of the minor salivary gland, unspecified sites, as well as any malignant neoplasm of the oral cavity, not otherwise specified. Okay? Let's see. C74.0, which is also going to require another digit for adenocarcinoma of the adrenal cortical. So let's find that one. C74. Maybe. '77, '76, 7A, '72, '74. Okay. 74.0. C74.0. Now, this is what I'm saying. If you look at this, it tells you, even here, when you verify it in the tabular list, that it requires a fifth digit. That little red box tells you that this is the malignant neoplasm of the cortex of the adrenal gland, but it requires a fifth digit. So we are going to use, because it doesn't have any specifications in the problem in your book, don't create any. You use the most plain code that you can find, because there aren't any other supporting specifications in the problem in the book. So malignant neoplasm of the cortex of unspecified adrenal gland. Here's C74.00. Looks like it's going to be the winner, because the book does not tell us if it's the right or the left, so we cannot use C74.01 or 02, and C74.1 starts a whole nother code with its subsets, so it has to be C74.00 by reasonable deduction. So that's going to be your code for number 2. For number 3, lipoma, we have to look up D17.9. So let me flip to my D's. D17.9, benign, it's unspecified, yeah. Sorry, I was trying to keep in a sneeze there. Benign lipomatous neoplasm, unspecified. It's a lipoma not otherwise specified. In your textbook, the problem literally just says lipoma for number 3. That's not otherwise specified, so D17.9 is going to be our winner there. So for number 4, we had written down C55 to look up a leiomyoma of the uterus. So C55, we'll flip back there. C55. Here we have malignant neoplasm of the uterus, part unspecified. Does not tell us if it's the cervix, if it's the body, if it's the fundus. It doesn't tell us what part of it is. So C55 will work there for us. For number 5, neoplasm of the anterior wall of the urinary bladder malignant, we chose C67.3, and that is actually right here on the opposing page. And C67, malignant neoplasm of the bladder, requires a 4th digit. So that's important. Those little check boxes are important. That gives you further direction. Now, all of these codes here fall underneath C67. So these are potential 4th digits for C67. So then you have to figure out which one it is. And we said C67.3, so let's just make sure. C67.3, malignant neoplasm, anterior wall of the bladder. The problem says neoplasm of the anterior wall of the urinary bladder, malignant. Looks good to me. So I think that will work there. For number 6, plasma cell leukemia, we chose C90.1. And it's going to require an extra digit. Right there it is. So C90.1 is plasma cell leukemia. Requires a 5th digit. All we have in the book is plasma cell leukemia. So we're going to go with plasma cell leukemia. Now, this is a thing. Don't get confused by all this extra crap down here, okay? This says plasma cell leukemia not having achieved remission. That is one way that this code will work. It also works for plasma cell leukemia with failed remission. It also works for plasma cell leukemia not otherwise specified. Our textbook is a case of plasma cell leukemia not otherwise specified, so we're going to use C90.10. Number 7, I skipped. Number 8, C92.4. Let me see if I can find that guy. He's right here. Acute promyelocytic leukemia. C92.4 requires a 5th digit. So, again, not having achieved remission, with failed remission, or not otherwise specified, we're going to use the C92.40 code because it is not otherwise specified in our textbook problem. This is, I think what I was saying earlier, maybe in class, but you don't want to make up or don't want to create extra circumstances or extra information. You only can code the information that you were given. So even though this one code covers 3 circumstances, it's kind of an umbrella code for these 3 circumstances, you don't necessarily have to have all 3. It works for this one circumstance, so use that. You can't create a code for something that you don't have information to support it for. So even there's no mention of remission in these leukemia codes, so you can't decide that the leukemia is either achieved remission or has not achieved remission. You can only decide based on what you're given here in the textbook that it's not otherwise specified. So that's what you have to use. So C92.40 is going to be your code there. For number 9, the secondary malignant neoplasm of the skin of the chin, we chose C79.2. C79.2. C79.2 Here we go. C79.2, secondary malignant neoplasm of the skin. Excludes secondary Merkel cell carcinoma. This doesn't say anything in your book about Merkel cell carcinoma, so this will work for us. And then number 10, we chose C53.9 to cover carcinoma of the uterine cervix. So let's look up 53.9. C53.9. Let me give you that guy. Malignant neoplasm of the cervix uteri, unspecified. Again, there is no further specification in that problem, so we cannot create any specification. So we have to use what we're given, which is malignant neoplasm of the cervix uteri, unspecified. That's what we got to work with. That's what we have to code. So C53.9 will work for us there. We skipped number 11, and the last one that I'm doing here with you today is number 12, carcinoma in situ of the bladder, and we chose D09.0. Oh, I just wrote on my hand. Jeez, every time. So D09.0. Okay, here we go. So carcinoma in situ of the bladder. And that's it. Now, it says if you had D09 only, you would have to have a fourth digit. But you have D09.0 because it's of the bladder. That bladder gives you the 0 and gives you a specification of the site. That's your fifth digit. Wait, I lied. If you're using D09.1, you need a fifth digit. D09.0 does not require a fifth digit, so it is a code that can stand on its own. So D09.0 will work for that carcinoma in situ of the bladder. All right, so that's it. Hopefully you have a little bit better understanding of how the neoplasm table works, of how the how to look up these neoplasms in the index and in the neoplasm table. If you guys have questions, email me and let me know, or of course you can message me through Canvas and I will try to get back to you. Otherwise, we'll work on these again on Thursday in class. All right, see you guys.